Hello, my friends. Let's dive straight into the latest updates on negotiations. Trump is still in no rush to engage in dialogue with Putin. The reasons remain unclear, but the Prime Minister of India has agreed to meet with Trump soon. They are set to discuss the situation in West Asia and Ukraine. As for Trump's strategy, it's still not entirely clear. All we can do for now is wait. Meanwhile, on the front lines, the fighting continues. So let's start with the Pokrovsk direction, where we have three pieces of good news. First, Ukrainian forces successfully launched a counterattack near Lysivka in recent days, even forcing Russians out of some positions. Second, the Russians failed to secure their positions closer to the fields near the village of Grishine. The front line remains near the village of Kotlene, meaning the partial encirclement of Pokrovsk hasn't been achieved. Third, Drapati will now command the entire Donetsk direction. Ukrainian soldiers are reportedly feeling more motivated to follow his orders, since on a tactical level he usually knows what needs to be done. Hopefully, he will be able to stabilize the front lines. Currently, battles are ongoing near Kotlene with assaults on Удачне, Зелене, Промінь, Миролюбівка, and Yelizavetivka. Fighting is also raging in the fields near Baranivka. Unfortunately, there is some bad news to report. Russian forces have captured Uspenivka and Nadezhdenka, strengthening their flanks to better advance the encirclement of Pokrovsk. Additionally, reports are coming in today about new Russian gains near Udachne. The Russians managed to secure buildings near the railway station, advancing about 1 kilometer into the eastern part of Udachne. Ukrainian forces are holding them off, targeting reinforcements before they arrive in greater numbers. We are currently waiting for official confirmation of this information. In the Kurakhove direction, the situation has taken a serious turn for the worse due to a Russian breakthrough toward Andriivka. At the same time, the Russians are assaulting Dachne, Constantinople, and the village of Rozliv. Ukrainian forces are still attempting to hold the line, trying to create an opportunity to break out of the encirclement. Overall, it seems history is repeating itself here. In the direction of Velika Novosilka, Russian forces are storming Novosilka and attempting to advance across the fields from Rozdolne. After capturing Velika Novosilka, the further plans of the Russians remain unclear. For now, we are waiting to see how events will unfold. In the Zaporizhia direction, shelling and attacks on Novodanilivka have been reported. However, there are no changes along the front line, and the Ukrainian forces are successfully holding their positions. In the Kherson direction, the Russians are attempting to advance on Zabich Island, but they have been unable to secure their foothold. The front line here also remains unchanged. Now let's move on to the Toretsk direction. Here the Russians have captured Krymsky and advanced beyond Toretsk. They also shelling the settlements of Klebanbyk and Katerinivka. The situation in Sherbinivka remains unchanged for now. However, it's likely that they will start redirecting their reserves to this area in an effort to fully capture Sherbinivka and consolidate their forces for an advance on Konstantinivka. In the Chasiv Yar direction, the Russians continue their assault within the city. They've also attempted to break through in Stupochki and persist in trying to push through the fields toward Bilahora. However, the Russians have made no new gains. For now, the Ukrainian forces are successfully repelling all attacks. In the Siversk direction, the Russians have shown no activity for several days, and the situation remains unchanged. In the Liman direction, the Russians are assaulting Zarichne and Yampolivka. So far, they haven't achieved any new gains. However, their activity remains consistent, and the fighting in this area continues daily without pause. In the Borova direction, the Russians are advancing toward Boguslavka, assaulting Zeleny High and Novoyegorivka. Further south, they are pushing toward Rakivka with ongoing battles near the village of Makiyivka. However, there have been no significant changes over the past day. In the Kupiansk direction, the Russians continue shelling and are assaulting Glushkivka and Kolesnikivka. Over the last day, they haven't made any new gains, and the situation remains unchanged. Additionally, no new assaults have been recorded near Dvorichna, and the front line remains stable. As for the Russian claims of capturing the village of Zapadne, these remain unconfirmed by the Ukrainian side. In the Kharkiv direction, the Russians have shown no activity so far, and the situation has stabilized. However, fighting continues in Vovchansk, though the Russians have made no progress there. In the Kursk direction, the Russian counteroffensive has effectively failed. North Korean troops, fearing heavy losses, are no longer participating in assaults, and Russian forces are conducting fewer than 10 attacks per day without achieving any new gains. Meanwhile, the Ukrainian forces continue to hold the line. At the same time, Zelensky stated that all of Ukraine's resources are being directed toward the war and there should be no demobilization.
And there are questions, as you said, about how to return home and not go back to the front. Are there such requests? Undoubtedly, there are. But they are not provided for today. Martial law involves mobilizing people and all resources in the country. Absolutely everything. Unfortunately, that is the challenge of this war and why it must be sped up to end it, to force Russia to stop this war. We are defending ourselves today. If, for example, tomorrow half of the army simply goes home, we should have surrendered on the first day. That's the truth, because if tomorrow half of the people go home, return, Putin will kill us all. He will simply kill everyone. That's exactly what will happen. Those who don't manage to flee abroad will see everything destroyed, and those who resist will be killed. Look at all the small towns and villages where they met resistance. They destroyed everything, killed the people who stayed, and left those who fled with nothing. That's the reality.
Zelensky also criticized Ukraine's decision to give up nuclear weapons and not join NATO.
We discussed the Budapest Memorandum, and he heard my position. My stance probably differs from the loyalty shown to some decisions. I believe that what was done was wrong not only for Ukraine but also for Europe, because Ukraine gave up its nuclear weapons. I'm not claiming whether it should or shouldn't have been done, but in my opinion, it shouldn't have been, considering the current attack against us. Even if a decision was made, or if it was US and Russian policy at the time to push Ukraine to disarm, I think it was, at the very least, reckless to trade it for nothing. It should have been exchanged for real security guarantees. And back then, the only real guarantee was NATO. To be honest, even today, it's NATO in peacetime and a strong army in wartime. If I were to trade nuclear weapons, it would have been for something truly powerful that could stop any aggressor, no matter their size, territory, or army. That means a strong army and a security bloc. So, I think it was foolish. Absolutely foolish, illogical, and very irresponsible to trade in that way. At the time, many countries, many economies influenced Ukraine. It wasn't easy to refuse, but knowing how to say no is critical.
And that's all from me. So please don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell to stay updated on all the latest news. Thank you for watching and see you next time. Bye bye.